Okay, so we're gonna begin right now with some videos of learning. And first video that I'm gonna do is something that deals with finding the equation of a line, which is very important for the EOC. Let's go ahead first and make a line on the coordinate plane. As you know, this is the coordinate plane, and we want to go ahead and make up a line. So let me make two order pairs right now on the line. And we're going to have the first order pair. Let's make the first order pair right now. Let me invent one right now. So let's say it's somewhere in here. And the other one is going to be somewhere here. Let's connect the dots with the protractor now. And here's our line. Okay, so what we need to do right now is find the equation of this line. And we have three different ways of doing that. We can find it with slope-intercept form, we can find it with standard form, or we can find it with point-slope form. Okay, so if you remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Standard form would be big AX plus big BY equals C. And point slope form is y minus y subscript 1 equals m times x minus x subscript 1. Okay, so we have three different forms, like this, like that, or like that. So, but the best one that I like to always start with, we can start with this one here. And then you can write it like this if you want, or you can even write it like that. And there are questions on the EOC that are going to ask you to write in different various forms. So they can give you an equation like this, and then they can ask you to write it like this. Or they can even ask you to write it like that. Okay, so you have to be aware of the three different forms of the equation of a line. Okay, so let's write it like that. Y equals mx plus b. Going back to this side here, if you recall, your m is your slope. Okay, and let's remember that little guy that I told you about. That little guy tells you a lot about this line. So you wave at your line with your left hand, wave with your left hand, and that means that the little guy goes on this side of the line. Okay, and he's going from one end to the other end. So that means it's going up. He's going from one end to the other end, he's got to go up. So if he's going up, it's a positive slope. That means that my m is my slope, right? And my little b is my y-intercept. Okay? Y-intercept little b, the slope is m. So let's go ahead and find the slope of the line. And if you remember, what I like to do is I like to use a method called stack and subtract. So let's go ahead and identify our order pairs. The first order pair is 5, 5. 5 for x, 5 for y. Remember, every order pair is made up of an x and a y. Our second order pair would be -4, 1. Okay? Which is another x and another y. So let's go ahead right now and stack up the order pairs. And now we're going to start finding the slope of the line. So to stack them up, you put them right on top of each other. It doesn't matter which one goes on top. You just put them on top of each other, okay? You stack and you subtract. So you can see here I'm stacking and subtracting. We can make a line right through the middle of the numbers. Remember that these are our y's and these are our x's. Y's and x's. So subtract the y. So 5, take away 1, that's 4. That's giving my rise. 5, take away -4, that is +9. That is my run. Okay, rise over run. From middle school years, you remember that you have rise over run, which gives you the slope. So the slope is rise over run, in this case is 4 over 9. Okay. Now that we know that our slope is 4 over 9, we can concentrate on finding the little b, which is the y-intercept. If you remember, this is the y-intercept here, this dot right here, that's the y-intercept. I'm trying to figure out what order pair will that be. I want to find out what number that is. That is my little b right there. It looks like it's 1, 2, 3. It looks like it could be 3 or maybe 2.8, 2.7, who knows, but we got to find it. So let's go ahead and concentrate on finding that little b right now. And to find that little b, we have to use our equation. So far our equation is looking like this. Y equals 4 over 9x plus little b. So you can see here I have it like this. Okay, y equals 4 over 9x plus little b. And now I have to figure out the little b right here. Okay, notice where the m was, I substitute for 4 over 9 and I get that, right? So I have a fraction, and those fractions can make things hard for us, as we know. So let's get rid of that 9 in the denominator. And if you remember, the best way to get rid of denominators on equations is by multiplying them. So I'm going to multiply everything by 9. Here times 9, and here times 9, and here times 9, right? I'm just trying to get rid of that. This cancels out with that. That leaves me 4x plus 9b equals 9y. Now I have the same equation but without the denominator. So it makes it easier for me to work with when finding little b. And let's concentrate on finding little b now. So let's go ahead now. And we see here that we have an x and a y in the little b. Well, I don't know what little b is, but I know what x and y is. I know that those are order pairs on the line. So we got to pick one. So we can use this one here, or we can use that one, whichever one you would prefer. I want to use the one with positive numbers. The x and the y are both 5, so substitute the 5 for the y and substitute 5 for the x. Work out the equation like we used to do in middle school, and that gives me 45 in here equals 20 plus 9b. Okay, subtract 20 from both sides. And that will give me 45 minus 20, that's 25 equals to 9b. Divide by 9, which is the coefficient. And then my little b is a fraction. It's an improper fraction. Okay, which I can write like that. I can leave it like that, or I can turn it into a mixed number. Okay, so if my little b as a mixed number will be what? It will be 9 times 2 is 18, and 25 minus 18 it's 7, so it'll be 2 and 7/25. Let me see here. Turning 25 over 9 into a mixed number. 2 and 7/9. I'm sorry for that. 2 and 7/9. Okay. So we know what our little b is. We have it as an improper fraction, 25 over 9, or we have it as a mixed number, 2 and 7/9. Either way, if you leave it, it's fine. I don't think they will give you a lot of problems with that. Either way is correct. I'm just going to leave it as an improper fraction, but you can also write it as a mixed number too. That's a possibility. And let's go ahead and write our entire equation now. We found the slope, which is rise over run, which we found it by stacking and subtracting. Okay, once we did that, we substitute the slope for the m, which is 4 over 9. Got rid of the denominator to make things easier for us by multiplying the equation by the denominator. I end up getting 4x 9y plus 9b. Substitute an order pair from the line. Any order pair will work fine. Work out the equation. Solve for little b, which came out to be 25 over 9, which we turn into a mixed number, 2 and 7/9. So let's go ahead and write out the entire equation now. Let's flip this little board over. Okay. So our equation is going to be y equals 4 over 9x plus 25 over 9. Okay, this is our equation in slope-intercept form. Alright, but sometimes they can ask you a question to write it in standard form. So how would you write the equation, the same equation, in standard form? Okay, notice how in slope-intercept form, if you were to make a rectangle that has the y and the x, this is very important here, pay close attention, okay? You were to make a rectangle that has the y and the x, there's an equal sign between them. But in standard form, if you were to make a rectangle that has the x and the y, there's no equal sign in between them. Okay, so this will tell you when the equation is in standard form. In standard form, when I make that rectangle that has the x and the y, there's no equal. But in slope-intercept form, when I make that rectangle that has the y and the x, there's an equal sign inside the rectangle. So this rectangle helps us out. Notice how in here, what we need to do right now is to write it in standard form is the following. Okay, one moment, let me switch markers right now. So first of all, I want to go ahead and get rid of these denominators, because in standard form we cannot have denominators. And as you know, we have an equation with denominators, so how do you get rid of it? You multiply them out. So times 9 in here, and times 9 in here, and times 9 in here. Then this 9 cancels out with this 9, and this 9 will cancel out with that 9. Okay, so you're left with the following. You're left with 9y equals 4x plus 25y. 25 plus 25, sorry. Okay, now that we have this done, we want to move this term. This is a term, right? Remember that terms are separated by a plus or a minus. There's two terms on this side, 4x and 25, because they're separated by a plus sign. 4x is positive, so bring it to the other side. It means you subtract it. This will cross out, and now you have 9y minus 4x equals 25. Okay, so then this is the equation in standard form. Notice that in standard form, we have an x and then the y, and we have a plus sign in between. Okay, but here I have a y and then the x, and there's no plus sign in between. So this doesn't quite look like standard form yet, but I can figure it out. Okay, remember that we make the minus very small and we put a plus in between. Since we're adding, we can switch the terms. The 9y and the negative 4x could be switched. So I put negative 4x first, and then 9y, because it doesn't really matter the order in which you add. The commutative property of addition says that. It doesn't matter the order in which you add, so you just switch negative 4x and 9y. And there's my answer in standard form. Okay, look at right now, okay. There's standard form. Negative 4x plus 9y equals 25. Okay, so what we did here is our equation of the line, we brought it over to, we wrote it into standard form. Okay, so on the EOC they can ask you those questions. Okay, so our equation of the line was this in slope-intercept form, but that can also be written like this in standard form. Okay, so we write our equation in two different forms, standard and slope-intercept form and standard form. Okay, point-slope form, which is the last one, will not be asked much on the EOC, so you don't have to worry about it, but you need to understand how to write from slope-intercept to standard, and likewise from standard to slope-intercept form. Okay? Remember the differences between both equations. You have to remember them, those differences. Okay, so this is it for the first lesson. Okay? One quick comment before we go. Remember that this line is made up of an infinite amount of ordered pairs. Inside this line, there's a trillion, a million, gazillion amount of ordered pairs, never-ending amount. Okay, that has arrows. The line has arrows. Those arrows tell you that they go on forever and ever to both sides. Okay, so after this, you should look into video 2, which is the continuation of more lessons. That's it for now.